couple months ago, I did a video after the release of Between Dark and Dawn, which was the Season 9 mid-season finale, I should say, done by Gail Simone, who actually wrote for MLP for the first time when she wrote this episode. And this is uncut and unscripted. But I bring this up because last week, a HorseShoe-in premiered. And recently, one of the analysis and reviewers that I follow on Twitter and on YouTube, Map, aka Miss Anthropony, did a review on it. And to say that he was cool with the majority of the episode at first would be an understatement, but he did point out some flaws. One of the biggest flaws was the lack of continuity and the OOC-ness that followed along with Trixie. This was due to the fact that this episode, like Between Dark and Dawn, was written by somebody new to the franchise named Ariel. I can't think of the rest of her name, but that's her name, Ariel. And even though Ariel gave us somewhat of a decent episode and actually gave some character development, not just to Starlight, but to some other characters that appeared as well, like with Octavia Melody in her appearance, it gave her a bit of development to show that she can be a little humorous at times if she needs to be. You know, Dr. Hooves, of course, bringing his excitability and his love for science and time travel to another level was great to see. And even Big Mac having his moment where he realized, hey, this is probably not the best choice for me as far as a career move is concerned. So let me step away right now and you choose who you feel is best. And speaking of that moment, we're going to get to that in a moment as well, I should say, because that's going to play a role here. But now we get to Trixie. Now, Trixie seemed to be, I guess you could say, as Matt put it, in his own unique way, seemed to be out of character. It seemed that the continuity that comes along with the shows as of late and its characters seemed to have been non-existing with Trixie. Because Trixie, even Matt pointed this out, had been to the School of Friendship before. She had been a substitute teacher temporarily, and in that brief moment of doing so, she was actually very responsible. She understood the severity of the situation or the importance of the situation and took it very seriously and responsibly. Here, although, is a reverse 180. Like, she becomes oblivious to the situation. She doesn't really care that much and assumes that just because she's BFFs with Starlight, she's going to get the position of vice head mayor / head stallion without a problem. But that's not the case. That's not the case. And it takes Starlight going through a traditional blow up at Trixie, argument or anger towards her best friend for not understanding the situation. However, one person does point out, Map actually pointed this out, that Starlight doesn't treat Trixie any more differently. She will call her out about her faults and everything, but because she's BFFs with her, it's a little difficult. It makes choosing at times a little bit more difficult, but she knows she has to be fair and unbiased. Now, the reason I bring up Trixie here being OOC out of character and from a continuity standpoint, because like I said, she's been there before, she's helped out before, and that it just didn't feel, I guess Map just basically didn't feel that Ariel understood that. Like, she got the notes that was needed. Like, she had an understanding, she was given the cliff notes of how far the friendship has progressed, what episodes were kind of significant to the situation, but she wasn't given a complete rundown. Like, you need to have a complete rundown as to who the characters are, why the friendship is important to each other, and if they've had past associations with said environments, like, let's say, the School of Friendship. And if they would have done that, I'm pretty sure analysis and reviewers like Map would have had a different opinion about Trixie's role here, because it would play off the fact that, look, Trixie's been here before, she knows what she's doing, And even though she'd probably still use that boast of, hey, I'm the BFF, I'm her best friend, I'm going to get the job no matter what, that at least maybe in continuity standpoint, Trixie would try to take it more seriously so that even if she doesn't get it, she at least knows, hey, I did the best I could. But then we get to the resolution at the end. And this is another point of contention, or I wouldn't say disdain, but contention that fans have, was how quickly the resolution came. Yes, it played a part in what Trixie's role at the School of Friendship would inevitably be, but the way it was resoluted at the end, it just felt like you knew it was coming, but it just felt like some parts of it, or parts of the resolution, could have been expanded on more. For example, when Starlight mentions that Octavia Melody and Dr. Hooves pulled out due to the fact that they, Dr. Hooves wanted to go back and focus on time travel and science and try to make new discoveries, and Octavia felt that, hey, it might interfere with her music. Just to hear Starlight say, oh, that's the reason they decided to drop away or step away and all that, it didn't feel like, it basically felt like a slap in the face in the eyes of some fans, including Map. It's like you bring these background characters in, you finally give them more character development, more screen time, even adding a bit of a humorous side to Octavia, and yet, you decide that the best way they're going to exit the story is off-screen and Starlight's explanation of, oh, this is why and that's why, instead of giving them a moment like I mentioned earlier with Big Mac where they kind of approach her and maybe even in flashback and acknowledge, hey, this is probably not, we've thought about it, and even though it's a nice opportunity, it's a nice, chance to enhance the generation, the future, we have other commitments right now, we don't know if it's going to interfere with them. Or there's other discoveries to be made, and I'm not sure if it's going to interfere, kind of stuff. So if they would at least gotten moments like that, maybe even where they embrace her in a hug as a thank you, I think people like Map wouldn't have such a problem with it. But no, the quick resolution to why they exited, according to Starlight, was because of this and that. And even though it's predictable as Sunburst coming in at the end to take the job, that was another issue that Map and a few others felt was kind of rushed. Unlike all the other candidates that kind of sat down, were given trials and interviews and all that, but Sunburst seemed to just get the job handed to him, all because Trixie suggested, hey, when her and Starlight reconciled and made amends, she suggested, well, you need someone that's as responsible as you, that's as organized as Twilight, and as smart. And then she came to the resolution after Starlight mentions, well, it would be nice if I could, talk to them as a friend, if they were a friend and I could talk to them. And that's when Trixie said, well, maybe that is an opportunity. Maybe there is some pony you can do that with. And in comes Sunburst. And basically Sunburst's explanation is, hey, once Trixie explained the situation, I knew I had to come here and take the opportunity. And that's what he did. But what really though detracts from this in the eyes of fans and people like Map is the fact that he just gets the job. He's just given the job, on a silver platter. I mean, yes, Starlight addresses his role as the Crystaller, the Royal Crystaller, the Flurry Heart at the Crystal Empire, but his explanation, which is obvious, I guess, in continuity, since Flurry's getting older, there's not really much he can do anymore besides the occasional events here and there. So, and then him saying that, I've always wanted to teach in an institution like this. That, to some people, that came out of nowhere. It's like, really? You want to learn about magic, but now all of a sudden you've always wanted to be a teacher. Okay. So yeah, the resolution in the end, basically not of just Octavia and Dr. Hooves exiting, but of Sunburst getting the job like that, some will agree and disagree about the fact that it just fell flat in the end, is what it did. It just fell flat. Now, as far as Trixie getting Starlight's job, because Starlight's going to be the new vice head mayor, That kind of makes sense because she did have moments of brilliance when it came to that kind of a occupation, standing up for Gallus against Grandpa Gruff when no one else would. And the fact that she gave Starlight the advice of, hey, let's get Sunburst to step in and do it because he's got all the tools needed. Some might say that did qualify her, but some would say that she should have at least been given a chance, maybe a trial run under Twilight's watch of all things, of all ponies, I should say, Twilight's watch of all ponies, to see how she would do as the counselor for, let's say, about a week before Starlight makes her decision. Because if she's willing to give trial runs to Hooves and Spoiled Rich, who was automatically ousted almost instantly, but Hooves and Spoiled Rich and Octavia, and put them in trial runs across the board to see where they would fit, as vice head mare or vice head stallion or whatever, then why? And yes, she did do it with Trixie, but if Trixie was going to be student counselor, I'm sure a lot of people will be like, well, you can't just reward her after everything she's done. Why don't you make her go through a week-long trial under Twilight's watch to see how she does as student counselor and go from there? Because honestly, if you're going to have anybody kind of help make that decision or help you kind of make the decision of, okay, is your best friend suited to be student counselor? Why not have it be the one that she's had a friendly rivalry with over the seasons, and see if maybe even your teacher, if you will, your teacher, your mentor, if you will, is in agreement with your decision to give her the job. So, and the same could be said for Sunburst. I mean, Sunburst would probably would probably obviously get it no matter what. But still, the same could be said for him. Why not just give him a week-long trial run in that position to see how they fit? And I think that's the only issue fans had at the end, was the fact that the end resolution for Octavia and Dr. Hooves is, we want to go back to this and make new discoveries, or it might interfere with this, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, but again, at least give them moments in flashbacks where they explain it, and maybe give a friendly embrace and hug to Starlight as a thank you for the opportunity. It's not just that, but it's also the fact that, like I said, you knew Sunburst was coming in, and he did. He ended up getting the position without, going through an interview or a trial. And it's only because of, Trixie's recommendation. And then Trixie, after all she did, ends up getting the job of counselor. So I think, again, this is where, when you bring in a new writer to pen a script, that it's cool and everything. They bring a new, fresh take to the product and even to the characters. But it's also kind of like, even though they might be given the notes, might be given a little bit of, might be given some research to do on the characters, kind of be brought up to speed a little bit. Even though they'll get all that given to them, in the end, if you're going to bring in new writers, especially in the final season and in episodes that are basically crucial to the final season in some perspective, then you need to bring them in with a full, knowledgeable plate of what's going on. You need to be there when they write the script. Have them submit it to someone that knows what's going on, so that person can resubmit it back to them and say, okay, this is all cool, but this is how it should be done because this plays in continuity with what's happening. So overall, though, I thought I'd just do a little bit of a follow-up to my video from earlier this year, basically back in, I think, June. Let me know what you guys think, though. What are your thoughts on, again, another new writer being brought in to pen the script for an episode that, even though they did a decent job on, they still kind of fell short with continuity issues and character issues and all that. Let me know down below. Comment if you like. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are, and I'll talk to y'all later.